All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to explore a really fascinating idea from our source material, this concept of two totally different operating systems for the human mind. One is the one we use every single day, and the other, well, it's working on a completely different level.
So to really wrap our heads around what the author is getting at, we're going to start with a simple, but honestly pretty powerful thought experiment. This one little scenario is going to frame our entire conversation today.
Okay, so picture this. You get a message, and it's crystal clear. Maybe it's a voice, maybe it's just this incredibly strong gut feeling. Whatever it is, it tells you, pack your bags, go live in the desert.
So what's your gut reaction? Does your brain immediately start screaming, "That's insane, there's no food, no water, you'll never survive"? Or is your first thought something else? That single question, right there, is the heart of the two mindsets we're going to unpack. Okay, so we have these two completely opposite reactions to the same command. To make sense of them, we need to actually define what the author calls rational thinking and spiritual thinking. And these aren't just slightly different, they're presented as a fundamental split in how a person can see the world.
So first up, we've got rational thinking. And honestly, this is our default setting. This is the logic we all use to get by. It's constantly asking, how do I eat? How do I pay my bills? How do I stay safe? How do I make sure people respect me? Its whole world is about surviving and thriving in the here and now.
And then you've got spiritual thinking, and this is a whole different ballgame. This mindset doesn't start with earthly problems. Its starting point is a much bigger question. Does this action align with my ultimate purpose? Is this what the Creator wants from me? All those immediate material worries, they come second.
And this is where it gets so clear when you see them side by side. Look at the focus. The rational thinker is asking, how do I survive? But the spiritual thinker is asking, how do I live? One is all about the practical stuff, food, shelter, safety. The other is about purpose and divine will. So of course, when the desert command comes, one mind sees a death trap and the other sees a clear path forward.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. That spiritual thinker's response to just, pack up and go, it sounds incredibly simple, almost dangerously simple, right? But is it really?
Yeah, let's just call it out. It seems like it's totally missing any kind of critical thought. Where's the planning, the logic, the careful thinking we usually call intelligence? It feels kind of like a reckless shortcut, doesn't it?
But get this. This is where the author completely flips the script on us. The argument is that this way of thinking isn't simpler at all. No, in fact, it's claimed to be exponentially more complex than our everyday rational mind.
So, how on earth could that be true? How is just go to the desert more complex than a detailed survival plan? Well, the author says there are these hidden layers of complexity. Let's break down the three big arguments for why this is actually a higher, more sophisticated way of thinking. The first layer is all about focus, micro versus macro. Your rational thinker is a micromanager. They're solving today's problems. I need a job, right now, with a good salary to pay the rent. The spiritual thinker, though, they're operating on a macro level. They see their entire life as one long journey to a final destination. So for them, the question isn't, what's the salary? It's, does this job get me closer to my ultimate goal?
And that idea builds right into the second layer, the difference between a lifetime view and a life view. The rational thinker's knowledge is based on one human lifetime, what we learn in school, what society tells us is true. But the spiritual thinker, they're working on the scale of life itself. They're trying to factor in the principles of the entire universe, the journey of a soul, concepts that go way beyond a single 80-year lifespan. The amount of information they're trying to process is just on another planet.
And this last layer, this one might bend your brain a little. The argument is that rational thinking actually takes simple things and complicates them. With endless meetings, plans, processes. But spiritual thinking, according to the author, does the opposite. It takes an incredibly complex vision and makes it simple. It takes a truly massive amount of knowledge and wisdom to see the most direct, simple path forward. It's the difference between needing a blueprint and just knowing how to build.
To really nail this all down, the author gives us one last, incredibly powerful analogy that ties this whole idea together. It's all about building a house in an earthquake zone.
Okay, so imagine two people are about to build a house, and one of them, our spiritual thinker, says this. Just build something simple and quick. On the surface, that sounds impulsive, right? Careless, almost reckless.
So then the second person, our rational thinker, scoffs and says this.
Which, let's be honest, sounds like common sense. Of course you build a house to be strong, to last for decades. That's the responsible, smart choice. Or is it?
But, and here is the absolute kicker, there's one crucial piece of information that only one of them has. And boom, this changes everything. The spiritual thinker knows something the rational thinker doesn't, and with that knowledge, building a simple, temporary house isn't careless at all. It's the wisest possible move you could make. It's an act of profound, simplified complexity.
So that earthquake story isn't just a clever gotcha. It perfectly illustrates the whole idea. But according to the author, it's also a metaphor for life itself, and it's meant to leave all of us with one last, really deep question to think about.
The author puts this question out there, connecting that whole story directly to our own lives. It reframes our entire existence, with all its uncertainty and its definite end, as this exact same building project.
And that's what we're left with. It's a question for you. Knowing that life is temporary, that you're building in an earthquake zone, what kind of house are you building? Are you building it to last for a short time, or are you building it for an eternity you can't see? In short, how are you building your house?